Namaskar and welcome to episode number 20 of Understanding Consciousness podcast. We have just finished the paper that we were discussing for a few episodes, and this episode is a checkpoint episode again, trying to gather all the bits and pieces of information that we learned into one whole understanding and have a summary of the whole process on here on this episode in front of you guys. So, welcome. And we start with understanding what I learned from that paper. Well, apart from the actual experiment and the workings of the experiment and the way the data are collected and the way experiment is set up and the statistical analysis and the conclusion and other inferences that can come out of that paper. Apart from all that, theoretically I realized that this paper is a part of a whole, this principle of active inference which was being tested. Active inference, right? What is it? Well, I tried to look into it. What is active inference? I put it in on Wikipedia. I opened Wikipedia and searched for this, and the article that came up was titled "The Free Energy Principle." The free energy principle. It's a principle, which means it's a law about laws. In a way, it's a suggestion about laws. It's saying something about the nature of laws about perception. And this is the idea basically. So the simplest way in which I can put the idea forward is this: the mind perception works in this way. There is an expectation, and then there is the reality, and then of course there would be an error between the two. The mind, it creates a model of the world, and then it compares that model with the actual world, and whatever the error is considered the free energy in a way. Yeah. I don't know exactly why this term free energy came up. I'll look into it further. I have downloaded further papers. This was put forth by this guy called Carl Friston, who is still actively researching. His latest paper is actually just published in the Neuroscience of Consciousness about active inference. So I'll go into that and understand what active inference actually is. And why is it called free energy principle? Why? What is free energy? All I understood is there is a prediction, there is happening the actuality, and then you check the difference between the two, and that difference is minimized, right, over time. And that is how the organism learns, and we learn. There are two different ways, there are two types of it. The first one, the background of this idea comes from the passive or the unconscious inference of the mind. For example, you look at an optical illusion, like the let's say the Necker cube. No, not the Necker cube. The any Think of any optical illusion that you remember, and understand, see the nature of that optical illusion. Let's say the it's the line optical illusion. Which line is longer? When the answer is both lines are the same size, one of them looks longer because of the arrow heads that are formed on either side of that line are pointing inward rather than outward. It seems longer. Even when we know and we measure the fact that both lines are the same size, none of them are longer, we still cannot let go of the perception of perception that this is um, that one line is longer. And why is that? It's the reason that is because our minds have already made a prediction about the world while looking at the world, and the prediction is that the line that one of those lines looks longer, right? And that is so deeply ingrained in us that it doesn't it can withstand empirical evidence, it can withstand reasoning. That is unconscious inference. Now, what is active inference? It's not, I don't think, I think active, the word active is here not as um, an opposite of passive inference. I think active here means related to action, right? How? Well, one way of minimizing the error between perception and the world outside is to change the perception, right? But the second way to do that is to change the outside through action. All right. You, you see what I'm saying? There is this jump in. There is this difference of. There's a shift in paradigm in the way you understand action. When an organism is making an action, it it is it is triggered through a need to minimize free energy. That's a very interesting idea. It's a very it's upside down in my head. It feels upside down because I thought, I mean, and this is where I got confused when they discussed this in the paper, in the last paper. I got confused at this point, but now I kind of understand what they're saying. The idea is that even our actions as human beings, the origin of those intentions to act in our minds, the intention arises from a need to change the world according to what we desire. And what do we desire? Whatever we desire. And when we do that, this free energy is reduced. I think I don't know how it's related to homeostasis, but I'm sure there is some way it is related to homeostasis. But this is a principle. So the idea is that a lot of our laws about the nature of mind and how mind perceives and how mind infers is a result of this error correction mechanism in different ways. The different mechanisms are doing the same similar thing. These a lot of these theories have this single thread of explanation based on this very principle of active inference, of not active inference, of free energy, the free energy principle. And this free energy principle is very interesting idea, and I cannot say I understand it completely. I don't even know why is it called free energy. I think it's to do with the entropy, minimizing entropy, having more. I've done some research on entropy when I was making a video back in March, April, and I understood. I got comfortable with it a little bit. I became a little more comfortable than than I used to be. Entropy is a very confusing subject. If you get into it, some people, because of all the relationships it has to order and disorder, which actually doesn't make much sense when you look into it. But anyway, let's not go into that. What I'll do is, this is just a checkpoint episode and we are already past 10 minutes, and I'll keep it short today. I'll just just trying to convey this idea that is in my mind, that free energy principle can be a very interesting thing to understand, in order to understand a lot of different theories in this field, in the field of perception. But I think a lot of research is now based on this idea that the mind is this Bayesian prediction model. Meanwhile, I'll also understand the meaning of those words, and see you tomorrow. Thanks for listening.